Hello everyone. Welcome. I'm going to give this a second just for people to tune in. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Fabiana Buontempo, and I'm a senior writer here at HOLA USA. And I am so excited to be talking all things Latina Powerhouse and keeping this series going. So for the past month or so, we've been talking to inspiring and encouraging women that are in all different fields such as beauty, style, entertainment, business. And I'm so excited tonight to be speaking with Irma L. She started a $100 million tech company. We're going to be talking all things business and tech, and I'm so excited to speak with her. So let's get this connected. Okay, we are just checking in with Irma. Okay, let's see. Irma, are you on here? Okay, we are just waiting for her to tune in. So she started this company in Fresno, California, and it's a really interesting story. She's doing an amazing thing for tech entrepreneurs, small business owners, and I'm really curious to pick her brain, discuss how she got this idea, what she studied in college. She was the first person in her family to go to college. So this woman has a bunch of accomplishments up her sleeve, so I'm excited to speak with her. Okay, Irma, I'm just checking in. Are you here? We're just waiting for Irma to connect with us. Sorry guys for the delay. Of course, my first Instagram live, this happens. But no worries. I mean, we gotta thrive under pressure. Well, thank you guys for all the encouragement. You're so sweet in the comments. And thank you. Yeah, share your questions that you have for Irma, because at the end of our interview, I will be taking questions from viewers and asking her. Oh, here she is. Okay. Waiting for her. Hello!
Hello. I'm like, I'm here. I don't know how to do this. How do I get louder on this thing? I'm so excited to be here.
People are so excited to be speaking that I'm speaking with you and to see you. So the comments were flowing. I was like, Irma, where are you?
And I'm like, I'm here. I'm so bad at Instagram. I have to tell you, I'm not even gonna lie. Like my team said, hey, we're gonna do this Instagram live. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love the host. And I was like, I can't wait to do it. Somebody's gonna need to have to teach me like literally everything. So
honestly though, Instagram is updating like every day. There's so many new changes to it, especially live. Like I personally don't go live on my own account, so I'm like, okay, I was like reading up on it today, like how to properly do it. So we're in the same boat.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks for being patient, and thanks to everyone who's tuning in. I know that this is we're living in a pandemic world, so this is how we connect. I will get better at this.
No, you're doing great. Speaking of which, how are you doing? How has everything been?
I mean, alive. My family has relatively good health. My company is doing well. But, at the same time, the world's on fire. There's a pandemic.
Right.
There's an election coming up that like is stressing me the hell out. I don't know. I guess like 50% doing great, 50% what the hell is going on?
Right. It's like a tough question to answer right now. How are you doing? Because it's like, do you really want to know?
Right. Like how real do you want me to be right now?
How honest do you want to get? Well,
yes.
So how has your business been doing? You said it's been doing well, which is amazing because we've been hearing the devastating news about different businesses and different things failing. So how have you been handling the stress within your company?
It's like what we had to do, or what I had to do, was get to a place where I could just tell myself, like, the business that I was running in January and February is gone. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I need to run a business that exists in today's world and in this pandemic with everyone working from home, where nothing works the way that it used to work. And so now what are you going to do? Which I think is like, you know, if I'm being honest, like that's what an entrepreneur does, is they make themselves relevant and valuable in the moment.
Right.
Right. And I think that we've done that well. We were able to pivot really hard. So to give some context to those who are tuning in, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Bitwise Industries, which is in the heart of Central California. And what we do is ignite the technology industry in places that you don't expect to find it. So what we call underdog cities. Fresno, California is one of those cities, very, very challenged place, very, very heavily Latinx, but also double-digit unemployment and double-digit homelessness. And lots of us grew up in, you know, the ag land or in the farmland as field laborers. And so in that place, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do now that nothing works the way that it did before? 60% of my business, we're very, very place-based, focused on Fresno, focused on community. And we were doing events, and we have, you know, a coffee shop in-house, and we have all of these things that create like a vibrancy in our locations that's really exciting and fun. But what are you going to do when people don't show up to that anymore, and they can't show up to that anymore? Right. So that became the question, is how do you still be relevant and vibrant and create community and very, you know, intentionally skill people into the technology industry, which is the heart of our business? How do you do that now? And we just had to change literally everything. Like overnight, it was change everything. So
Wow.
It's going well though. It's going well. So, you know, 7 months into it, and I think we're doing okay.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, talk about having to deal with pressures of like, I mean, you don't know where life's going to take you, but no one expected this. And the fact that you were able to come out of it successfully is incredible.
Yeah, it's been challenging, right? I mean, this is the truth. It's been challenging. I'm not going to lie. 60% of your business doesn't work anymore. You ask yourself, what are you going to do next? For us, it was like, well, what we're going to do is we are going to serve our community. We're in a unique position in a unique place in the Central Valley. We are going to, the first thing we did was we're going to deliver groceries to the elderly and immunocompromised.
Right.
And that was, you know, it started out as like a couple of text messages and a spreadsheet, and turned into, we have like, by the end of the year, we will have delivered 1 million meals.
Wow.
It is enormous, which only speaks to, I think, the fact that everyone is struggling right now, and how many folks are struggling and reaching out for help. We were lucky enough to be able to build a piece of software, partner with some nonprofits and all of these things, to really like build a system to deliver food. That was our first move. But then we said, okay, well, we have a portfolio company called OrderSlip, which is a mobile ordering app for restaurants. And we said, we're going to make that free. Any restaurant that is pivoting to a to-go only model or takeout only model, here's an app. You can keep your doors open, keep paying your people. Right. And that was the second thing that we did. We made that free. And now we have about 500 restaurants that would have closed their doors, and we're able to stay open as a result.
Wow.
So, you know, it is answering the need that's in front of you in the moment as best as you can.
Sure. Well, you have such an interesting story. So you were the first in your family to go to college. First, like, what did you study in school? How did you get this idea? I mean, it's like you've accomplished so much so far. So can you go a bit into your story?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I don't know, anybody who's listening, I don't know if you're familiar with the Central Valley, but it really is these giant pieces of land that are agriculture based. The Central Valley produces between 20 and 30% of the world's food, which is not a thing that a lot of people know. You know, you think of Central California and you think California, period, the Bay Area and Los Angeles and Hollywood and all, you know, beaches. And that's not where I live. Let's be really clear. That's not where I live. I live in the middle of California, which is entirely ag land. And so the way that you grow up, if you're me, is like your mom, your dad, your grandparents, they like migrated to follow the crops. And so the life that you know is in the fields. That's the life of everyone around you. Very, very few people benefit from that industry in a way that creates generational wealth. Right. And so what ends up happening is that you've got entire communities that really don't ever expect to leave that life. Right. And so you don't think about things like college or like starting your own technology company or raising $27 million or being a CEO. You don't think of those things. And so one day, so that was my life of thinking that field labor or, you know, restaurant retail work was going to be my life. And one day I'm 15 years old, I'm in high school, and there was an announcement over the PA speaker that the the PSAT was being held in the cafeteria. And I wasn't college bound, so I didn't know what that meant, really. I didn't know what the PSAT was, but I was 15 years old, and what I heard over the loudspeaker is, if you go to the cafeteria, you can get out of class for half a day, so that's what I did. And so, like, literally, mail started showing up at my house, and one of them ended up being a scholarship offer. And
Wow.
I took that mail to my parents. I took that letter to my parents, and I'm like, Mom and Dad, like, I'm going to go to college, like, look at this letter. And they had the really miserable job, I think, of having to look back across the table at me and say, like, Neha, we're really proud of you, but
Right.
how do you think you're going to get there? Like,
Wow.
that's across the country. And so this thing that, like, this really small thing was going to prevent me from latching onto that opportunity. But I think that, like, folks who are watching, that probably resonates, right? Like, how many of those stories do you hear where it's really not your ambition or your aptitude? It's two things. It's, you don't see that for yourself because it's not the life you came from. And then there's small, stupid hurdles that are in the way that have nothing to do with your ability, right? And in particular for me, it was transportation. And so, so we recycled cans and bottles all summer long. I recruited, like, my brother and my sister and my parents to, like, help me gather recyclables from the fields, and until I had a pile of change that I could use to buy a bus ticket. And I rode from Fresno, California to Toledo, Ohio to show up at orientation to claim that scholarship. And it was a game changer, absolutely a game changer.
Wow. And then you returned back to Fresno, and why? What was the reasoning behind that to start your company?
Well, listen, I mean, so I accidentally get to college, right? Like, this is a total accident. I accidentally get to college, and then I arrive there, and I don't know how any of it works. And I'm looking through the catalog, and there's this shiny building in the catalog, and the lady who's taking my registration information, she wants to know what my major is going to be. And I told her, I'm 17 years old, I'm across the country, I don't know anybody, And I tell her, I want to take classes in this building, in this glass building, because I'm 17 and I think that would be awesome,
Right.
And so she says, that's the College of Engineering. So I accidentally then become a computer engineer, right?
You can't make this up.
No, you can't. You cannot make this up. So I accidentally become a computer engineer, and I get my first job. I'm still in college, and I'm at the very bottom of the totem pole. Like, I could not be more entry level, you know what I mean? But I'm already out earning everybody in my life back home. Everybody that I had ever known, I was already out earning them in the very first job that I ever had in the technology industry. And and this is what happened. This is a true story. So I'm working late one night with my colleagues, and we decide to order a pizza. And it's a bunch of male technologists, because I was one of the only women in my degree program. But he comes up to me, and I give him a 20, and he goes back to the door to pay the guy who's delivering our pizza. And he yells to me, he says, "Hey, Irma, how much do you want to leave for the tip?" And I yell back at him, "Tell him to keep the change." And, like, it was one of those moments, I have to be honest, like, it was one of those moments where, like, your, like, body goes cold and your elbows get weak and your, like, stomach is, like, falling out of your body. Like, it's one of those things, because in my whole life, I had never experienced a moment where I told somebody else to keep the change. You know what I mean? Where you didn't calculate whether or not you needed those extra $3 for another gallon of gas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you needed those $3 to buy another pack of hot dogs, whatever the thing was. And so I yelled back, "Keep the change." And I was like, oh shoot, like, my life will never be the same. Like, I actually had that thought in that moment, like, I'm going to be rich one day, rich by my standards, not maybe rich by the world standards.
Right.
I'm going to be rich one day. And it's because I accidentally went to college. I accidentally ended up in the technology industry.
Right.
And it's the fastest growing industry on the planet with high growth, high wage jobs.
Wow.
And so when you ask me, why did you start Bitwise, and why does that make why did you return to Central California to do those things? Like, literally, it was like, the people I grew up with don't know this. You know what I mean? I have to take everything I learned. I need to bring it home. And I need to, like, give other people the opportunity, that moment where the world goes all the way still and your body becomes cold and you tell someone else to keep the change. We need to create more of those moments, And so that's what Bitwise does.
That's incredible. So accidentally this happened and then this happened, the way your path, where it led you. So now how did you get this idea to start Bitwise?
Well, I mean, it's really simple. So when you look at Bitwise and what it does, we are basically a starter pack for igniting the technology industry in places that you don't expect to find it. What we call
Right.
underdog cities, you know, Fresno, Bakersfield, Merced, right there in the Central Valley, West Oakland. Now we're looking toward the east to figure out like where else in the United States does this resonate. But what we really do is we take three things and we turn that into our starter pack. Number one, technology education. How do you take the son or daughter of a migrant farm worker and skill them into the technology industry? Like, what does that even look like? Because I can tell you,
Right.
it's not the existing system. You know what I mean? Like, it's not traditional, like 4-year degree college, all the way out of reach from a financial perspective. Here's a test that you don't know what it means. Like, what do you really do to take
Right.
somebody from a story of poverty who's never been invited to the most exciting segments of our economy? What do you do with those folks? And so technology education, that's the first pillar of what we do. The second thing that we do is create a sense of place. It's that glass building. It is that place that's exciting that you go to. It's that flag in the ground where you're like, if I'm looking for the technology industry in one of these underdog cities, where do I find it? We
Right.
build those places. Because let me tell you, it's a justice issue to me. You know what I mean? It is that it doesn't matter if you are from Dinuba, California, or if you are from the heart of the Silicon Valley. It does not matter where you're from. You can conjure an image of what the inside of Google looks like. And it's way better than what we're building in these other places, which is basically what we're signaling to people is that if you're born there, you get to work inside Google, right? But if you're born in rural California or rural America, anywhere, you get to maybe adopt your father's cubicle, right? Or become a manager at an Ace Hardware and work your way to the top in that way. And so we build those places that really actualize the experience of being a technologist. And then the third thing that we do is we prove it. You can build and ship world-class software with underserved people from underdog places and go toe to toe with anybody else in the world because talent is evenly spread, but opportunity itself is not, right? And so that is ultimately what we do. And the reason that we do it is because we've taken my life experience and we sort of deconstructed it and we say, what was that path like? What were the missing pieces? And can you turn that into a system so that the way that folks are skilled into this industry and achieve their level of agency is not an accident? How do you make it not an accident for a lot more people? And we don't have to wait for stories like mine to happen sort of serendipitously, but instead, like there's a way for you to do that. So that's what Bitwise is, and that's why we do it.
Incredible. It's so amazing, all the work that you're doing. And also your work with 59 Days of Code. For those unfamiliar, can you go a bit more into it and like tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So the observation that we have had, that I have had in the technology industry, is that there are plenty of folks in basements and garages and at desks at home working on really, really neat ideas, right? But they don't really have a place to put that. They don't have a, like, it's really hard to spend time on this passion project when you don't get paid for it, but your day job is paying you 17, 18, 25, whatever dollars an hour to spend your time over there. And so we created 59 Days of Code as basically a competition so that you could work on that idea and maybe get real life money out of it. And so you are able to take your own, in 59 days is like, it's like a clock. You start, you have 59 days to complete your project. It's like a market ready thing. And so at the end of that though, you can win cold hard American cash to
Wow.
take that idea to the next level. And so we turned that, it started out as a competition. We turned it into a nonprofit, and now we hold that competition up and down the state. A really wonderful person named Isabel Gonzalez is the executive director now of that nonprofit, and I get to advise them from time to time. So that's been fully handed off. But the idea is really just to take that idea that's sitting on the shelf somewhere and give you a good reason to work on it.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm sure you've changed so many lives so far with that. And yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
like pat yourself on the back because I'm just so impressed listening to you and you've accomplished so much. Like, do you have any, what's next on Irma's agenda? What else, what other goals do you have for yourself? Where do you see yourself in a few years?
Yeah, I really love what we're doing. I love what Bitwise gets to work on every single day. And I really am set on changing the face, like the literal
Mhm.
face of the technology industry, because there's so much
Right,
opportunity buried in it, you know? And what I would like to do and what my company does is make it such that the technology industry in any given place is representative of that place, right? So in Fresno, for
right,
example, that means it's 50% female or gender nonconforming. That means that it's 50% Latinx. That means it's 20% first generation, right? Those are the demographics of Fresno County. And so if we can make a technology industry that looks like that, then it is a fair and
hmm
equitable system. And if we can take that
right,
model across the country and we do that in more and more places, well, now we're not just talking about a fair and equitable technology industry. Now we're talking about a way to actually recover from this recession and this pandemic in a way that creates a world that we all want to
right,
live in, right? And so
right.
that's really what I'm looking forward to, is like really making a dent in what our future looks like.
That's amazing. Well, you have comments here that are saying Irma for Prez. So people, they agree. They would love to see that for the future as well. Yeah. And so, okay, you have a jam-packed day. I'm sure your days are just super busy. What do you do for yourself after a long day to unwind? Like, what is your guilty pleasure when you just are like, oh, I'm mentally drained? What do you do for yourself?
You know, I'm really big on meditation, so I really
Okay.
like count on meditation to keep me like centered and healthy. But that's like to quiet the noise. Like, you know,
hmm
we all have that sort of racing mind, I think, and a lot of it becomes noisy. So that's what I use to really quiet that down. But my guilty pleasure is I love to read novels, like
hmm
young adult novels, romance novels. I mean, I read all kinds of garbage, you know, and in addition to things that are really useful.
Right.
But I just love to read. And honestly, I could spend all of my time doing only that if I weren't so compelled to spend my time giving back to the world in
Right.
the way that it's given to me. So, yeah, that I would say that that's my guilty pleasure. And then my companion is this is my dog. And
Oh my gosh, I love special guests. What a
so
little cutie.
this is Bruce, and he's with me, you know, 20 hours of a 24-hour
Right.
day. Yeah.
Right. Oh, what a good boy. He's so cute.
He's taking a nap.
He's like, well, you chat, mom. I'm napping.
Yes. That's
Well,
right.
this
That's right.
is so amazing. I mean, you're doing such amazing things for the world. You're making such a difference. I'm sure you know that and realize that, but it's really incredible. I'm opening it up to the viewers. Do you guys have any questions for Irma while we have her, and anything else that we haven't covered that's on your mind? Here, I'll scroll back to any other questions. Okay. Anything else you want to add, Irma, that maybe we didn't touch upon, or you would just like to say to people?
You know, I think there's only really one thing that is really loud to me
Mhm.
lately, and part of it is because of what's happening in the world, and we think about George Floyd, and we think about Breonna Taylor, and we think about in general like the injustices of the world, you know,
Right.
and how frustrating that can be to exist right now, especially as a
Mhm.
Latina. Like, I feel like it's not really my story that's being highlighted, but the story
Right.
of all of us, you know,
Mhm.
in like coming from a culture where we are constantly just fighting for our place and trying to figure out what that place is. So
Right.
what's really loud to me lately um, is that we have all of the things we need in the world to fix all of our problems. It's
Mhm.
about our will.
Right.
It comes down to, do we have the will to do something about this? So if we want to change what the technology industry looks like, and if we want underdog cities to really be vibrant and healthy places to live, and if we want to build an America and a world that we're all
Right.
proud of as we come out of this pandemic, we have everything we need to do that. We just have to add to that the will. And so I hope that folks, that resonates with the folks tuning in with OL USA. I just am really, really pleased to be here. And I hope that we have the same goals. I think that we do. And I'm really
Mhm.
excited to share them as often and with as many as I can.
Yeah, incredible. Well, we are so honored to sit down and have the opportunity to speak with you. I personally was super excited about this. Thank you for sharing your story. You're so inspiring. So like exactly what a Latina powerhouse is you. Like you're the epitome of it, and we really appreciate having you. We have a question. How can we engage with Bitwise?
Yeah, we are expanding across the United States. So if you have connections in any cities that we should consider, please do send them our way. info@bitwiseindustries.com is the most expedient way. Obviously, follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all of those other places to keep up with what we're doing. And feel free to send me a note anytime about anything that's on your mind. I'm always happy to hear from folks that we might engage with one day. And I never want to lose track of actually talking to regular human beings. And so please do hit me up if you've got any additional thoughts.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Irma. Thank you for spending your night with me and chatting with me. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.